Okay, we have ourselves a little bit of a drama conundrum situation at hand. Uh, Seems as if that there was a massive Gigaleak in relations to Game Freak and the Pokemon franchise. So I guess here is a summary. I also had heard about it and I was kind of unsure of the impact. And it does sound like that it was actually kind of wild. And everyone, of course, as you can see over here, everyone's kind of reacting to the allegations or the situation that involves like Typhlosion, which I've been looking around for like the article, but I haven't actually found anything to really like further solidify like what it is. But apparently there is like a lore story behind Typhlosion, and it's apparently like very out of pocket. So let's see kind of what this all stems towards. So summary of every leaked related to future Pokemon projects. First we have the video games, Legends ZA, which I think is Zygarde related, right? So it's going to be more attuned to the X and Y series. It was originally planned to release in 2024. It will feature Mega Zygarde, which is cool, but also interesting because there are like different forms. So I wonder how that'll come to play. Mega Zeraora, which is also really cool. That Pokemon goes kind of hard for an electric type, so there's that. And it's currently in development for the current Switch. Pokemon Gaia is the code name. It's going to be the 10th generation, so 10th gen confirmed, potentially, with two versions, K and N being Japanese names. I think people have already kind of done their homework to figure out what would that relate to in terms of like version type, but that obviously doesn't translate like well into like the American or English version. So what the names will be is obviously like up for grab. The main theme will be the island exploring in archipelago. Okay, so it's gonna kind of be island-ish related, so maybe something similar to what we dealt with what was it, Gen 7? So we'll see. It's in development for Switch 2, but a version for Switch 1 is also being tested. So it hasn't really been often where Nintendo has released a console or a game for multi-consoles. Like, they don't often do that, you know? I can't really remember the last time that like a Wii/Wii U ported game was also out on Switch at the same exact time, like release date wise, you know? I think the common theme for me was mostly like Wii and like Wii U, but really it was like Wii U GameCube. So for them to actually be making a Switch 2 version and then a Switch 1 as well is actually very, very interesting. So there's that. Then there's Pokemon Synapse is the code name. It's a new multiplayer Pokemon game in collaboration between ILCA and Game Freak. Okay. Those are the guys who've done the Generation 4 remasters for Shining Pearl and Brilliant Diamond. They also made that One Piece game and like something else. But they'll also be apparently involved in a multiplayer game. It's been described as a Splatoon-like and not an MMO. So most likely it might be like a multiplayer battle arena sort of thing. What would be kind of cool is if it's somehow like a Pokemon Stadium-esque sort of game, but not like traditional turn-based like we usually would get it. It would be pretty cool if it was something related to you know, like a action-based one. So we'll see how that kind of comes to play. Now, as for TV and film, we have Project Bauer. It's movie 24 in development since 2021, with the current status being unclear, but it will be a fresh start for the movie universe with a new protagonist. It's set in the Kanto region. Oh, so Gen 1 only. Okay. Main mythical of the movie will be Mew. Interesting. And directed by Kobun Shizuno-san. If you don't know this director, they're really well known for like the a lot of Detective Conan movies. There's a bunch of Godzilla movies that were recently like brought out there. There's a like a My Tyranno at some point. So, I mean, that's actually pretty fire. So we'll see. You know, so there's food for thought on that. Project Reload is a new original TV anime of 12 episodes consisting of 21 minutes per episode, animated by Studio Colorido. Okay. In development since 2022 at least, and the status for that is also unclear. Okay, I'm not too familiar with Colorido like directly, so I mean, we'll see. Hopefully, it's something cool to look forward to. Great Detective Pikachu is getting a sequel movie. It's been in development since 2021, directed by Jordan Voight Roberts, and the status is also unclear, and it's unknown if it's even been canceled. And then Project Discovery is a Netflix live action of 8 episodes for the first season, up to 5 seasons that is being considered. And that's all the details as it goes for this leak. Now here is the post that was revealed recently as of yesterday. Shout out to Gear of Newtown for the post. But apparently there's a story that was written. So if you don't know, Game Freak writes a lot of lore and has a lot of storytelling, and they also hire people to do storytelling and writing with Pokemon's in terms of like, you know, TV shows, movies, books, manga, whatever you want to call it, like you name it. I guess they must have hired somebody to do a story about Typhlosion, but apparently the Typhlosion is kind of like a manipulator. Apparently a Typhlosion kidnaps a girl, gaslights her, and then makes her give birth to a half human, half Pokemon child, which is very, very dark for a Pokemon thematic type of storytelling situation. Which, in respective fairness, like, there are still dark themes in Pokemon that they kind of like tap on, and a lot of players of all ages, you know, you kind of learn about it, but also like you kind of have to like do some deep digging. And it made me come to the realization too that if you don't know, like Hisuian, like the Hisui region has a Typhlosion variant where it's a fire ghost type, and the actual fire ghost type actually looks kind of like mischievous in a way, like it's kind of insane. So in my mind, I was thinking that that might have been like part of the story behind Hisui and Typhlosion, but it's clear that they scrapped that out and they've only kept it being like a fire ghost type. Now, I'm a Typhlosion fan myself. Like, the Pokemon's cool. It's like okay competitively, you know, like it's got the ability to like do some cool stuff in terms of its competitive nature in both ghost fire form and regular form. So, you know, I never really thought like too much about it, but you know, we haven't really seen it like it's like an okay Pokemon competitively, you know. It like does what it does, like who cares. So, but this design honestly like was kind of a left field thought in my mind, because sometimes like because a lot of the designs that they come up with in Pokemon, from what I've read, is like they will experiment a lot in terms of art style and direction and typing and all that stuff for Pokemon. And sometimes like if they just don't like the design of the Pokemon, they won't even like greenlight it. So an example, of course, was like a Mega Flygon. There was a Mega Flygon that was going to be like a dragon fire type or something, and the design for it was very different from like your typical Flygon. Obviously everyone thinks that Flygon should be like bug dragon, but it was, you know, it's ground dragon, but some mega version of it was actually indicated to be like a fire dragon type, and they didn't like the art direction that they went with that Pokemon in particular, so they just scrapped it and they just never brought it to light. They actually surprisingly do that with like a lot of Pokemon. So, you know, to not that Hisui and Typhlosion like doesn't deserve like the form change, but you know, they kind of bounce around a lot between what they can do design wise to kind of put it into the game. Like, it doesn't, because if you think about it, right, like there's how many evolutions of Pokemon are there? Not every single one has like a form change or even like a mega evolution, you know. So you can kind of tell that they pick and choose based off of like what is appealed to the art that they're going with. So I don't necessarily want to read this, but of course, if you want to check it out, it's literally everywhere. Just look up the story. But this is actually writing in regards to the dialogue that Typhlosion does with said person. And again, I think it's kind of insane to me that they're actually willing to write lore. And even, I mean, remember, it's not green light. It wasn't like a green lit idea for them to release, right? It's not like they released this and they were like, yeah, we like this, please press play on it, right? Like, they deliberately, oh, that's kind of, they deliberately decided to not proceed with this. So you got to remember that because it's a leaked story and like a leaked image and storytelling, this was never meant to be seen. So, I mean, you got to kind of give them credibility for at least trying to come up. I mean, okay, this is very dark and very out of pocket for Pokemon. But again, there's already enough theories people craft on a constant basis anyways. So, you know, I understand that in some way they kind of want to like tackle certain themes. The direction that they went with it, though, is very left field and very unexpected, because you would think like, you know, Nintendo, like, a company that like mostly appeals to children, and I understand that because, you know, Pokemon fans since day one. But, you know, like, it took me like a really long time to hear about the theory with like Gengar being the shadow of Clefairy, and then you know, the story of Drifloon, how it it carries children away like to forever and then they never come, you know, like there are stories that are even in the Pokedex right now as we speak that like these stories are dark. So this I think is taking a reaction in a very strong sense, because a lot of people are shocked that they would even consider a theme like this storytelling wise for people to actually like partake in. So I think that's really what it like boils down to. Because again, like I don't think there's ever been an idea put into place where a Pokemon and a human can like have children, right? Like that doesn't exist by concept, I think, at all until this post was actually released. But also, it's not even like an experiment. It's like it's about a Pokemon with the mischievous mind of doing exactly that, right? And there's more to it as well. Now there are some other really cool ideas as well that they've tried to experiment with as well in game, which makes you kind of question some other things too, you know. So at least this was a dynamic in-battle camera for X and Y, and the comparison side to side between the two of them is actually so interesting, you know, because Nintendo's never really been a game to like shy away from experimentation in terms of design and functionality. So, you know, I understand also their need and want to keep their games like kind of familiar so that old players can kind of enjoy them, but then new players can be immersed and excited for what the content is as well. But this comparison of the camera, as you can see by the bottom one here, is actually it's very different, you know. So this is something that I feel like is more ideal to see and be really like marveled by. But obviously this is not the thing that's taking the internet by storm. And additionally, of course, there are a lot of people on the internet that are using their time as we speak to kind of throw in their own, you know, ideas and fan-based art into the leak as well. So definitely take everything with a grain of salt and be very mindful about what you're looking at. And remember that this was all information that was either in development, it's kind of hit like a roadblock and they haven't made any progress with it, or they just completely canceled it out entirely. So a lot of the content that we're talking about, you know, we might not even see, it may not even get greenlit. So despite if you're a fan of Typhlosion, continue to be a fan of Typhlosion. This will eventually brush over, and I'm sorry that you have to be, you know, like devastated by some of the storytelling that exists. But remember, there are some Pokemon that is a fan favorite to someone, and their stories are greenlit in the actual Pokedex and it's canon, and their stories are much more devastating. So, you know, it's just a matter of being able to understand that they try and think about what they're doing, and hopefully this kind of like works into place. So again, just it wasn't meant to be leaked. This is like a huge flood of information we're all receiving. There might be more, there could be less, you know, we have no idea, but that's kind of what's currently being discussed and covered across the board. So we'll see and keep an eye out for it. And honestly, the most important thing for me to look forward to is the fact that like we're getting to Gen 10, you know. Like I've always wondered when they would ever stop making Pokemon. But you know, it's been a very long time, close to I think like almost 30 years now at this point, right? So and they seem to still be going strong somehow. So hopefully we'll find out more about this. But you know, please do leave a like and then sub to the channel. And of course, if you have any questions or any thoughts, please do let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.